And we have on the line Dr. Saphire Longmore. Good morning, Doc. How are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you, Vernon. Good morning to your listeners.
It is great to have you this morning. And I'm sure you're going to share some very interesting information with us because there are some things that are happening in Jamaica that have me wondering. And I have to be careful I don't make certain comments because I might get myself into trouble. And I'm sure the psychiatrist will say, Vernon, man, you have to seek my consultation. So I'll behave myself. But Doc, no, I want us to take a look at Jamaica. And I don't think we do it very often from the state of the nation's mental health. Now, I can only speculate. I'm not dealing with patients like you are on the national. I'm not reading enough to find out what is happening, but I know something is wrong, Doc. The, the challenges on our roads, the way we behave. Families are having challenges. Oh, at the workplace, many challenges. In our schools, there are challenges all over. And the level of crime, there are persons who will say, Vernon, I must say something at the water. But then I'm convinced, Doc, that something, well, some people say, I will be at too. I will be at the prior country. There's a Jamaica town, Sodom and Gomorrah, all kind of excuse. But it seems to me that our mental state, something is not right. I'm just speculating, but the way persons are behaving, I look back to the days in the 60s and the 70s, mark you with the political violence get pretty bad in the 80s. But Doc, something is happening to the country, and I think, I don't know, I'm just trying to let me get you and see if you can explain it from a point of view of the mental state of the country.
Well, thank you, Vernon, for bringing me on to focus on this very critical issue. I don't think anyone will not argue the value of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I will start by saying, speak for yourself when you say few people are reflecting on the mental state of the country.
Yes.
I also hold another capacity where I am serving my second term in the Senate, in the upper house of Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
And every single year since my appointment, I have made a State of the Nation presentation. We are not compelled to do so. Sometimes my schedule is very hectic, but I think it is my national duty, serving in that role and the privilege of doing so, to bring attention to the issues of health and especially mental health that are relevant to the country. Last year's presentation that I did in the Senate, my State of the Nation, where I specifically honed in, I didn't even look at other mental health issues. I specifically looked at violence in our society. At the end of it, I got a standing ovation, not just from my side of the bench,
yes,
but also from the opposition. So when you say that some of us are not looking at it, some of us are looking at it in great depth.
Yes.
But some of us are not listening or paying attention.
Because it's probably not sexy enough and gossipy enough, probably.
Well, you see, people make sexy what is interesting to them.
Yes.
I might find it very sexy to read a book.
Yes.
Might not find that to be so, but that is it's what you value.
Yes, yes.
And what you seek to appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we look at and what I spoke to back then, and it is pervasive, and until we address it, it will remain the problem. Violence in Jamaica, and I will go here for now, it's not exclusively this, because nothing is absolute.
Right.
We are dealing with, in most post-colonial societies, developing world, a public health crisis that stems from not just mental health issues, but the broken spirit and the broken practice of good spiritual health. When I say this, let me hasten to recognize that there's a difference between religion and spirituality.
Yes.
And if I were to put it to you, one of the first things you would describe when you heard of the 8-year-old whose throat was slashed, and you heard of the young man who killed his 4 relatives last year,
Oh, Lord, yes.
was your spirit broke for Jamaica.
Yes, man.
But when you reflected on the independence celebration that we had, it was a 65th celebration.
Mm-hmm.
That was so stirring, and so you felt the Jamaican spirit. You felt enlightened by it. When you say in Bolt and Shelley and Fraser, they caused the Jamaican national anthem to be played, the Jamaican spirit is enhanced. And we sometimes and oftentimes ignore, just like mental health issues, we ignore the value of that which we don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
But we see the effects pervasively. And what we are seeing in Jamaica, I think, is a manifestation of generational issues, generational traumas, but also a bit of where the focus and the attention, just like you said, it is not sexy enough to bring it to the forefront. But yet we speak of the consequences of not recognizing it.
Mm-hmm.
So the powers that be will respond to what the people put attention to. And let me repeat that.
But the thing is, how the people made a link.
Will put attention to what the people put as their priority.
But do the people make a link between what is happening now and what you refer to as dealing with certain trauma in a post-colonial society, the broken spirit? Are we making that link?
So what we're seeing. Well, let's try and break it down a little bit. What you're seeing is issues around poor conflict resolution,
Mm-hmm.
poor communication, positive and negative. Even if somebody agree with you, sometimes in Jamaica it sounds like them disagree with you.
I'm quite familiar with that one. Very
right?
familiar.
Even if you mean well,
Mm-hmm.
it come across aggressive, or someone will misinterpret it because they are used to a negative perspective.
Yes.
And we have a punitive approach to any and everything. We don't celebrate. We don't. If a child gets 96% in an exam, most parents will focus on it and say, "Why you didn't get the 100?"
Yes.
And that's the truth. Yeah. Rather than celebrating the 96, you say, "All right, then next time." But that's a separate story.
And I'm proud to tell you, see,
that,
Doc, I'm proud to tell you that even the media have the same problem. Even if you listen when I start my program, I ask persons to commend those who have done well, not only to complain about what is happening that is bad, but also to commend those who are outstanding. And that is something we seem to have got caught up into a loop where we just push the negative. Now, if we push the negative, then we will lose that taste for positive things. That's my opinion.
You see, the sad truth is that you're kind of reaching a threshold where the amount of negative is so strong that you can't help but recognize it too.
Yes.
Because we are reaching a point that there is a lack of moral compass almost in our interactions. And this is where I was going in terms of the issues that we're seeing. All of these issues that are related to conflict resolution, communication, the projection of love. Jamaicans have a difficulty in projecting love. It's hard for us sometimes to demonstrate love because we don't know it. We never grew up with it as a part of our cultural experience and our familial experience. All of the issues that I spoke of, we learn those in where we grow up. In our beginnings.
I'll show you
we
about
learn
the one.
how to communicate in our families.
I'll show you about the one where boyfriend should beat because I love me. I should have heard that one many times. And so that's part of the problem. I'm going to go for the break now. Dr. Saphire Longmore, or should I call you senator? But you're here as a doc this morning. Right? All right, gonna go for
I go by both. I go by both.
You might sound like some Jamaican jump off the edge just you go by boat. I'm giving you chopping down. All right, you're listening to Redeem FM, coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica.
You're tuned to Vernon Darby. Oh, love, get ready for roller. Oh, love, ready for roll, ready for roll, ready for roll.
Welcome back. Yes, it is Be My Guest. And of course, we have Dr. Saphire Longmore on the line. Back with us, Doc?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, lady who, I don't know if she find time, but she's doing her work here. She's in the Senate contributing. But that's the best thing because as a person who is quite qualified to speak on certain issues, it's good to have her in the Senate and also now have her on this program. Back to you. Yes.
I'll have to find the time.
Let me tell you, ma'am, what you're doing is necessary and it is very important because you're a teacher, and it is important. So God bless you.
Thank you, Vernon. Thank you. I do what I can.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, I know that we want to try and really unravel this a bit. We have the effect of the generational traumas that. Yes. If you were to think, and I'll just wrap this up with the spiritual connection that I was talking about. Imagine that our forefathers were plucked, were heinously removed from their beginnings. I give a little thing, Vernon. Mm-hmm. If you take off your shoes and you walk barefoot on the ground outside, you feel connected. It is called grounding. It is a part of therapy.
I love to do that, but we have to be careful.
All right.
You can't guess why. No. I love it.
No, man, understood. But I tell you, if you take off your shoes and do it outside the studio is one thing.
Yes.
But if you take off your shoes and do it in your grandmother's yard or the yard that you grew up,
yes,
it's a different feeling.
Yes.
It's a different feeling. And it is the connection to our family, our beginnings.
Ancestors.
This is where we learn the traditions of life. Mm-hmm. This is where we learn how to communicate. This is how temperament and isms and schisms within the family are passed on. I'll give you another little reflection. If a turtle hatches, it knows instinctively to go to the water. If an animal hatches out in the bush, it knows instinctively how to survive. You cannot tell me that human beings are not instinctive when they are born also.
But with animals too?
You can see a child.
With animals too? With animals?
Yes. You can see a child have certain temperaments. Yes. Even if you don't know the parent, you can say that it must be from this parent or that parent.
The blood for a line.
Point that I'm saying is there is real factors to consider when you consider that our forefathers were plucked from their home,
yes,
brought forcibly, heinously across in the Middle Passage, and then put in a new space that we don't connect with, we don't really connect with, but we try to connect. But over the generations, you have had to now fight to find that grounding. Compared to other societies where people are inherently, we are comparing ourselves to a Singapore and we compare ourselves to first world countries. And those places, we compare ourselves to, these places have a generational lifeline that their people are continuing. We are kind of catching up.
History and a culture.
Catching up. In the catching up, remember now I'm a clinician, so I'm going to look at it through the lens of a clinician.
Yes.
So you have those long-term issues of what is happening in Jamaica. You have medium-term issues in terms of our systems, in terms of the basic needs that need to be met. But you also have the emergency short-term issues that we are shocked by. So it's like you have a medical center. You have people who are coming in crisis and in you have to put on emergency treatment. So when you hear the situation like the 8-year-old with her throat slashed, and I'm just seeing on the news now in the same area in Portmore, a 13-year-old is now missing or has been missing in the same community almost. When you see that those crises, you need to also have emergency urgent interventions, but those are not enough. That's not enough. So the state of emergencies and stuff, yes, those are needed to cauterize the
immediately
gaping
what's
wound,
happening, yes.
right? But you must have other mechanisms in place that sees to the provisions of the basic needs of people, but you also need to fix the broken spirit. You need to actively put teams out there dedicated to that. And the essence of it for me, which is what I spoke of in my State of the Nation, was we need to focus on fixing our families, Vernon. And when I say fix our families, I mean we put incentive, we incentivize family, we support family, we put legislation to back up family. We put in a national day of the family. Once a month you should have a dedicated thing to say, family, a half day, go and play. That is my other significant solution, the power of play. But I'll get to that another time. But the point is that what we're seeing is not a simple overnight fix, because it's not a simple overnight causation. And we have to look at the non-sexy things. We have to look, and I go back to it, it's just a matter of your interest in it. And I'm not saying you in particular, but it's the individual's interest and appreciation of it that does not make it sexy. And this thing where we're in this kind of short, even news items and so forth, we don't take the time to read anymore. We don't take the time to find out. You just want to see the headline and you're running with it. You don't want to take the time to understand an issue. You just want to hear, what is what.
And if you read the headline, you're definitely not going to leave with the wrong impression a lot of the times,
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said, if you read the headlines alone, you are going to leave with the wrong impression probably most of the time.
Because, so you see, this is also it.
Let me tell you one right now.
The media has a significant responsibility in this. Significant.
Let me tell you right now, there's a headline, I think, I saw it this morning about politicians being the most corrupt. Now, if I just look at that headline, it would come across that it is a fact that they are the most corrupt. Not that it's a perception based upon a poll and they ask persons these questions. I'm not trying to defend it, just that the poll did not, they did not say, there's nothing concrete or proven, although we know some of them are corrupt. But the impression is...
But this is it. But this is it. This is what I'm saying. Yeah. So it resonates. So what we seek to project, remember I said in my opening, that we have a propensity towards projecting the negative. We have a propensity towards being punitive rather than positive and encouraging. Yeah. So instead of the headline saying poll shows, to show that an academic exercise was done and this is reflected, or to say that Jamaicans are concerned, put the context in it. It is the projection of the most sensational but negative spin on the entire exercise that they did. And so we have to, I think that the media and audiovisual has a significant impact in what could happen in Jamaica in terms of changing the perspective. I think that some of the elements that we have that are natural to us should be propagated more. Nothing is better for the soul and the spirit than laughter and sharing good laughter. You remember, you know what is a lost art in Jamaica, Vernon, that relates to our generations and our families? Stories. Telling stories.
We know the big boy story.
Telling stories. Yeah. Big boy, liquor boy, green mango, and Nancy, whoever, go down the road, whatever it is, even just the story that relates to the social media space. Yes. We don't speak. Our children are growing up and don't hear the vernacular, the humor that some persons used to talk about, man, and him barefoot pants or him and this one do this, and you don't get that anymore. You don't get that, and we lose. And in that process, that is how our generations learn.
Yes, and knowledge is passed from generation to generations, and also the oral history is carried from one generation to the next.
Why you think? Remember Miss Lou Ringding? I vaguely remember it.
You vaguely?
But it was
Hold
such a
on.
wonderful...
You vaguely remember it? Locks, my child, as we jump on the jump castle, Locks, I tell you, all of it, just come on me and say, my dear. You want to say, Locks, hi, No, you don't have to remember. You just heard it.
You see what I mean? You see what I mean? And in my mind...
By the way, I still have a book which was presented to me. I got it, which is, oh Lord, the book I've got fixed up now, which is autographed. Anyhow, moving right along.
Okay. Yes.
Moving right along. Hope I didn't show you off too much with that one.
Well, I mean, the whole... That is
oral
that
history.
is
We're
the
talking
whole
about
point.
oral history and Miss Lou and the poetry and so on. That is missing. It's been replaced.
It is,
yeah.
and it is all elements of bringing back the spirit of Jamaica and such.
The
now,
love.
But to bring it in full context, though, there has to be active, and this is something that I'm working on. There has to be an active propagation of this. But we can start when your conversation with me was stemmed around mental health.
Right.
And what is really happening in mental health? We have a society that clearly has issues with coping with violence, where we have persons who are having post-traumatic stress disorder, significantly depression, anxiety. The psychiatry, the mental health fraternity, I was president of the Psychiatric Association during just immediately post-COVID, and we saw it. We tried to alert persons. We tried to say, hello, after COVID, you're going to have the next crisis is going to be a mental health crisis. We tried to say our young people, because I remember personally writing an article around it in terms of the effect. We were all, during COVID, concerned about the older persons. My concern was about the young people, the teenagers, especially because teens are naturally at an age of what you call isolation, identity versus confusion. They're naturally teenagers, naturally seeking out what is their interest, what are their likes. Do they like this subject in school? Do they like this girl or this boy in school? Do they like this food to eat? Do they like this sport? It's a time of explore. And during COVID, and you explore through socialization. And during COVID, we were told not to socialize, which was erroneous in my mind. You should be told to probably physically distance.
Oh, by the way, I tried to sell that message. I said it's not to keep your social, it's keep your physical distance.
Yeah, we should have been enhancing socially. Yes. At the time, we needed socialization, but use the mechanism of social media in a way that it is an instrument rather than we are beholden to it.
Exactly. And I tried hard. I said, stop this campaign about keep your social distance. No, we have to. No, everybody keep them social
distance, if anything.
Lord of
but my mantra was the immune boost. Your immune boost.
Yes,
trust me.
Yes.
Knock on wood. So the point is that the teenagers would have been at a natural developmental stage that would have been greatly impacted, and we're seeing it. With the reopening of school, remember, school offers structure, it offers a certain rhythm, it offers opportunity. When you go to school to learn to read and write, it's not just about the physical writing and the reading. It is about organizing your thoughts. It's about problem solving. It's about communication. All of those skills were arrested. But also territorialization. As young men, as boys and so forth, growing up, the teenage years, everybody have them little coop, them corner, them this and that. When you don't have that happening naturally and they're doing what they're doing and then come back in a small space, there's going to be conflict. You have to almost have a process of reintegration that needs to happen. And so on top of that, we anticipated increased domestic violence and abuse because of the closed-in nature of things, and also substance use for people who use it as a negative way of coping.
Yes.
Increased use of alcohol, marijuana, etc. And so we were not surprised to see the fallout and what we are seeing now, unfortunately. And essentially, we called and we are calling for it. Our services are run. A lot of persons say, boy, you see the mad people on the road, lock them up. And no, that's inhumane, and that is not. You have to always put things back to the dollar, unfortunately. It is not cost effective. Because when you put someone, lock them away in people said to Bellevue or wherever, there's a cost to maintain them in that quote unquote locked up state, which is, like I say, absolutely not the way to go, because it is inhumane. These people and our clients are similar individuals with the same rights as each and every one of us, and any one of us can fall in that state at some point. It is more imperative to have the proper treatment facilities available in the communities close to where the individual is, and enough personnel to monitor the individual and ensure compliance with whatever treatment plan they're on.
But what a challenge we have, though, is that persons who are having mental challenges that has deteriorated to pretty high level, is that it's almost impossible to get them to take their medications, and then family members seem to be incapable.
Because Vernon, this is what I'm saying, because we don't have adequately trained people to help persons understand their illness.
Yes.
What you are speaking of is what we clinically call insight, the insight of the individual, their ability to understand their illness. Now, if I were to explain to you that the reason that you're having a hallucination and you're hearing voices in your head is linked to similar circumstances, like what happens when a diabetic, you cannot look at a diabetic and know that they're diabetic.
Right.
You cannot look at them until their diabetes has reached a point of almost crisis that you can see mother drop down or start go blind or something.
Right.
You say, okay, clearly. It's the same thing with this. We are all hormones. And when these hormones that control our ability to sense our environment or understand or process our thoughts go out of balance, you can have manifestations. And to rebalance it, you can also apply whatever treatments. Now, I mentioned around spirituality and spiritual health. If our broken acceptance and realization of our belonging to a greater space and a greater purpose is not actualized, that's a different modality of treatment. That's a different conversation. But the point is that we tend to trivialize issues of the mind because we don't understand the complexity of it. So you believe that anybody should be able to convince somebody that they're supposed to take the medication. No. It's not anybody can say, go take out the appendix. It's not anybody can say, all right, you know what, the blood sugar is at this level, so this is what I need to titrate the insulin to. It's not. You have to be trained for that.
Yes.
And it's the same thing for mental health issues.
But let me ask you something.
Because people believe it's talk therapy, we don't get the resources to apply the level of direct contact with the clients.
I see the need for more social workers. Of course, you need someone who will be probably more trained, or do you say clinically? Some who are probably more trained, because I think there needs to be a cultural change in the island.
So social intervention is one thing.
Yes.
So remember now, Vernon, health is 4 dimensions. There are 4 aspects to our health. Our physical health, our mental health, our social health, and our spiritual health.
Well, I don't take notes so fast, You come here teaching you, so you have what health you have?
Physical health, mental health, physical. Everybody know about physical health. Physical
mental health.
Yes, that's when you think health, that's where you normally go.
Yeah, man.
Mental health, which is our behavior, our emotions, our thinking.
We use our cognitive skills and so on.
Right, and our what we call our perceptions, what you see and hear and feel and such. Our social health.
Social health.
Social health is the development, the interpersonal relationships that we develop between our intimate partner, our family, our friends, our colleagues and co-workers, and then other interests we might have, like our hobbies, etc.
Yes.
That's social health. And remember now, here, so you have positive and negative social, because your friend can be your friend and then your frenemy.
Hello. I can give you a lecture on that one. I guess everybody can. Yeah, man.
Right? And then you have your spiritual health. Our spiritual health is that sense of belonging to something greater than us. That we each have a unique purpose, a unique path, and value for self. And in developing that value for self, you also develop the value for others. Because I appreciate my self-worth, it makes me appreciate your self-worth, Vernon. It makes me appreciate you, that you are an individual that is unique and you are on your unique path, and we are two beings, two spirits that have met for a reason. And that is what is lost in our society.
But let me ask you something.
When people can just cut a 8-year-old throat.
God have mercy. Now, me tell me, if my mental state are going to hear that, I can't deal with that. I think my mental. Let me tell you something.
It is there.
Can we do a study of the country to find out, say, on a scale from, say, 1 to 10, the physical state, physical health, mental health, social health, and spiritual health? Because that, if we can do that, that would give us a good indication as to where we need to go, because we spend a lot of time looking on the economic situation in the country. We talk about macroeconomics and interest rate.
I can give you a gauge. I think you can see through the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the minister's efforts at addressing especially our physical health.
Yes.
There is greater appreciation and recently more attention and awareness because of the obvious, you can't ignore it, need for mental health awareness. But I was going to tell you that when you mentioned about the social workers, the structure of how we deal with mental health and what needs to happen, but we can get back to it. Social health has developed such an arm that it is almost an area of development in and of itself. You have people who are doing this project and social interventions there and so forth. It's all under health. Our spiritual health has been largely left to our faith-based organizations.
Right.
There's no structured approach to it. And like I tell you, that is something that I'm working on in a different respect. But the point is that you can see where there are deficits. And in terms of our mental health and the resources and the emphasis that is needed, is that we have a team structure that is supposed to operate in the communities. So we have the reports, we have done all the task force reviews and so forth and recommendations. And based on that, based on the population size and the number of what they call the prevalence, the number of people in the country that are affected by a mental illness of some sort, you have a certain ratio of the community mental health team that should be out there. So you have at the top of it the psychiatrists, then you have the psychologists, and you can have sub-area specialists of psychiatry. Then it fans out now to what you call the social workers, the mental health officers, the occupational therapists, the psychiatric aides.
But do we have enough though?
Pardon?
Do we have enough of those persons out there?
Yes, we have, but we have. So let's say the situation is that, let's say for psychiatric aides, for a particular region, you may need, for argument's sake, don't quote me on this, for argument's sake, you may need 50. In some states, in some situations, we have only 20. We may need 6 psychologists.
Oh, so we don't have enough then. Okay.
Right. So a situation like at Bustamante Children's Hospital, let me bring it to you how real it is now. The child who was murdered, the school that she goes to, we see in the news where the school had to be closed down. Well, they had to, the response to it, the trauma is so much. Those kids are would go a part of the public response, would be channeled towards likely Bustamante Children's Hospital for intervention.
My God.
There is no psychologist assigned. There's no psychologist at Bustamante Children's Hospital for the mental health services.
Whoa, I hear you. By the way, Doc, we'll go for the break now. When we think about my childhood, no matter what things rough doing, Doc. When we think about my childhood, you don't remember? I run down for kids for our country. climb banana tree. I say one banana right and take it. Ride donkey and donkey drop your
Yeah, but
dirty
that is real childhood. That
and
is what we need.
go milk the cow.
Our children know concrete now.
Go milk the cow. I go on the wrong side. The cow kick over the bucket of milk. Or you go for catch water and you never reach your yard now and you slip and slide and the water dash. No, by the way, can you imagine this generation, 20, 30 years time, what they have to think of? A youngster.
Oh, that's another story. That's another story.
That's another story, Doc. Gonna go for the break. We're speaking with Senator Dr. Saphire Longmore. Vernon Darby saying to stay with us, soon come back. It is sad, but there's hope. We can do something about it. What are you doing about it?
You're tuned to Vernon Darby. Oh, love, get ready for roll up.
Welcome back. You're listening to Rhythm FM, coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. I'm your friend Vernon Darby, and we have on the line Senator Dr. Saphire Longmore. Doc?
Yes, I'm here.
Where you going to treat me for? I look like my head I go to you, know.
Take a little coconut oil. I'm say good for it.
But one time they said it was bad for us. Now we have another 3 minutes, Doc. I want you to look at some solutions. Not enough, probably, to come here again. At some solutions. Though. You mentioned some already. But 3 minutes now. You are now the Prime Minister of Jamaica. So, speak to the nation, man, for 3 minutes.
That is a serious projection.
Oh, yes.
My priority would be family. My priority would be doing everything possible to support and to fix family. Mm-hmm. Legislatively, incentivize in the workplace families. So I would say to companies, you get a tax write-off if you support your families in some way. If you enhance a day trip every 3 months. If a father can demonstrate that he has 4 or 5 children and he has them all in school at a certain level, he probably can get a tax write-off, and a mother likewise. Because I would want to encourage the presence of the fathers. This is a great deficit in our society where we don't have that paternal path and the value of it. Our men were initially programmed to be breeders, like a prize bull, and so they have the children and there's no connection, and that has consequences. So I would focus on those issues. I would bring back as much as I can play, the power of play, Vernon. When I mentioned about the 4 aspects of health: physical, mental, social, and spiritual.
Right.
When you play, when you play, you are engaging yourself physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually. Mm-hmm. And so there's great value in play. There's and all members of society should be playing. Babies should be playing, children should be playing, teenagers should be playing, adults should be playing, old people should be playing. And when I say play, I don't mean just ball and bat play. I mean the creative arts. I mean artwork. I mean parks. I mean going to the beach. I mean green spaces. I mean intergenerational play. I mean the older persons programs where the older generations are reading you have a story time hour in the communities where the older generation will gather and tell these stories that we spoke about to the younger generations, where you have every morning at 6 a.m. you have a certain exercise class that is being run that all members can join, and then maybe another one at 12 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because you have persons at home who are not working but they might want to develop a habit that is healthy. So yeah, the power of play is very fundamental for me.
Right.
And if I may also just quickly add that, for me, the basic elements of agriculture education, and health. If you take care of agriculture, education, and health, everything else tends to fall into place.
You know, I'm laughing. Boy, I'm going to suggest that the Prime Minister appoint you a special consultant on changing our people for better. I must tell you, you just said something. That's why I love to talk to you professionals. I have some things that I have, you know where I get them from. I've always said that if you teach a child to care for life, plant life, animal life, like I did when I was small, they will love life. And they will.
The earth is.
Yes. Have to run now. I'm in trouble now. You have me holding me now. I don't want to leave you because you have said
If you keep me here, you have me for an whole hour.
But hear what the nation.
You know how much that is.
Lord have mercy. The nation. No. But guess what? If the nation has benefits significant. Nations pay $1 each. Thank you very much, Senator. Dr.
I do what I can with love.
But I'm serious. The Prime Minister needs to give somebody like you another special responsibility as agents of change.